pandas than Conservative MPs. Going by the polls this evening, there may be the same number of Tory MPs as there are unicorns in Scotland to discuss this. Ruth Davidson, MSP, leader of the Scottish Conservatives. It's not good for you, is it?
Well, we fought a fantastic campaign. There's going to be a number of seats across.
No one doubts that.
A number of seats across Scotland where, in any ordinary election, we'd be looking at picking up seats. This isn't an ordinary election in Scotland this year. There's been an SNP tsunami. We haven't had a single seat in Scotland declared yet, so it's a bit too early to say what's happened. But it does look as if it's not just ourselves that could be facing a difficult night, but it could be the Labour Party and the Liberal Democrats as well.
Your party workers will have been on the floor counting as much as anyone else's. What are they telling you?
They're telling me that the vote in Glasgow appears to be up in several of the seats. So there's obviously 7 seats that are counted here. This is one of the biggest counts in the country. So that's encouraging for us. But
what does it tell you about the seats that the SNP might take from Labour?
They seem to be telling us that it looks as if there is a chance that it could be a clean sweep here in Glasgow.
7 from 7?
7 from 7 is what I'm hearing, but again, we've not had a single one declared, so that's caveated. That's the scuttlebutt in the room, and I'm sure you're hearing the same as I am. And you've also heard from at least one senior Labour MP who says that he won't be demanding a recount in his seat. What does that mean in your mind for the political landscape here north of the border? I mean, everyone always talks about the fact that people tended to vote, with their heart in Scotland. The SNP, for example, in 2011 polled 45%, but as soon as we rolled to the Westminster elections, it was a slightly different thing. Everything's changed now, hasn't it? Well, absolutely. I said after the referendum that the snow globe of Scottish politics had been shaken up and we hadn't quite seen where the flakes had fallen yet. Well, tonight we're seeing some of those flakes fall. I think that it will be interesting to see the share of the vote that the SNP get. I think that if they lock down the 45% that Yes got in the referendum, which I think they will do, 45% is enough to take almost every seat in Scotland in a general election. It's whether they've gone much beyond that, and then I think that's where we start to look at where the votes have gone.
Let's talk more generally about the campaign. How annoyed are you at the line taken by your leader, the Prime Minister David Cameron? You're a Conservative, you're a Unionist. For large chunks of this election, I mean, David Cameron has been waving a flag of despair and woe about your close personal friend Nicola Sturgeon. Maybe I've gone too far there.
I don't think either of us ever called each other that. But I do respect her, though. I think she's a woman of immense talent and ability. I just think she's wrong about everything.
But the National Party, the Conservative National Party, appears to have given up on ever having a foothold north of Gretna Green ever again.
Absolutely not. You saw the Prime Minister during the referendum fight incredibly hard to keep our United Kingdom together, as did I. And I was one of the first people in the Conservative Party back in January, really pushing hard on this idea between Ed Miliband and Nicola Sturgeon having a deal and making sure that the Labour Party outlined what that would be. In fact, I think I said in January that they were halfway down the aisle towards that deal, and we had to push really hard. And you saw 6 weeks ago, Ed Miliband still wasn't ruling out a coalition. Then he ruled out a coalition, but not some form of other deal. Then he ruled out confidence supply, but not some form of vote by vote. And he's been all over the place on this. But, let's not get this wrong. There's been a total and utter collapse of the Scottish Labour Party. And while the Prime Minister of this country, David Cameron, has many responsibilities, the long, slow decline of Scottish Labour is not one of them.
Ruth Davidson, MSP, thank you very much. We'll obviously have to hold on just a little while to see if they can hold on to their one Conservative MP. Adam, don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Well, it's looking good for the SNP, isn't it? Now, we've got our first result in from Middle England, if I could put it that way, rather than the North East. It's Swindon North, and there we see that's a Conservative hold, Justin Tomlinson re-elected. But what is interesting here are the swings, and this really bears out what Professor Michael Thrasher was saying to me a while ago. You see, the Conservatives have got more than half the votes there. Remember, Swindon
to Labour. If it is those, I don't expect certainly either of those two seats to change hands, albeit we suggested earlier in terms of the exit poll data that there will be a slight swing from Conservative to Labour across London, but not as big as the opinion polls were suggesting there